They won't see you coming, not because you're hiding, but because you've stopped needing their attention. The world today is loud. Everyone wants to be seen. They want to be liked, followed, noticed, admired. They chase dopamine like beggars, chasing scraps of validation. But you're different. You're about to walk a path most men fear, not because it's difficult, but because it's invisible. Silence is the beginning of greatness. The men who changed history didn't start with applause. They started with isolation. They weren't loud. They were focused. While others were speaking, they were sharpening. While others were posing, they were preparing. While others were shouting, they were building. And when they finally spoke, the world listened, because they didn't come with noise. They came with power. Let me tell you a truth few will admit. If you want to become unstoppable, you must first become silent. You must silence the urge to show your progress. You must silence the need for recognition. You must silence the doubt, the fear, the noise. Because in silence, the real work begins. Most men fear being invisible. They think invisibility means insignificance. But the opposite is true. Invisibility is where power incubates. The man who trains in silence becomes lethal when he steps into the arena. He's not distracted by approval. He's not addicted to noise. He's addicted to becoming. You don't need to tell them what you're doing. Let them think you've disappeared. Let them assume you've quit. Let them mock your silence. And then, when you walk back into the room, they'll feel it. They won't understand it, but they'll feel it. They'll feel the power of a man who didn't ask for attention. He demanded respect by who he became. Remember, lions don't roar while hunting. The most dangerous man is not the one talking. It's the one walking quietly toward a goal no one sees, until it's too late to stop him. And that is who you are becoming now. Asterisk, asterisk. Let's be honest. Most men are addicted, not to alcohol, not to drugs, not even to comfort. They're addicted to being seen. It's subtle. It wears a suit. It posts. On social media, it looks like confidence, but it's not. It's a parasite. A silent, relentless craving for approval. But here's the dark truth. As long as you need to be seen, you'll never be powerful. You'll move your life based on reactions, not decisions. You'll build your future around validation, not vision. You'll act like a man, but inside, you're still a boy, waiting for someone to clap. And that, right there, is what must die. If you want to become unstoppable in silence, you must kill the performer inside you. The one who does things just to be noticed. The one who shows progress too early. The one who can't build in the dark because he's starving for praise. Ask yourself, would I still do this if no one ever knew I did it? If the answer is no, then you're still chasing attention, not greatness. The best work you'll ever do will never be posted. The hardest workouts will be unseen. The deepest healing will happen alone. The most important decisions will be made in silence. No likes, no cameras, no audience, just you. Bleeding in the dark. This is where men are reborn. Every time you resist the urge to show, you sharpen your edge. Every time you choose discipline over display, you're building something unbreakable. Let them underestimate you. Let them forget you. Let them laugh at your absence. They think you've disappeared. They think you've failed. They think they've won. Perfect. Let them, because the most dangerous man in the room is the one who trained when no one was watching. Silence trains the soul. It hardens the mind. It removes the ego and replaces it with purpose. When you stop needing the world to validate you, you become immune to its distractions. You stop flinching. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You're too busy becoming the man they'll never forget. And that's the point. Let your life be your proof. Not your words, not your posts. Your results. Because when you move in silence, you don't need to prove anything. Your existence will become the answer. Asterisk, there's a certain mindset that only a few men possess. It doesn't come from books. It doesn't come from lectures or seminars or self-help quotes. That it comes from shadows, from hours no one will ever see, from years of being overlooked, from building silently while others celebrated mediocrity out loud. These are the men who are forged, not found. They don't chase motivation. They don't need cheerleaders. They're not moved by compliments or insults. Because they're not performing for the world, they're building for war. They don't tell you their plans. They disappear. And when they return, the world changes. Let me tell you something you won't hear in most motivational speeches. The greatest version of you will be born in isolation, not in comfort, not in popularity, but in quiet, grinding repetition. Everyone wants to be a lion until it's time to bleed alone. Do you know why most men never reach their potential? Because they're afraid to be alone with themselves. They're afraid to face the silence, to face the voice that asks, why aren't you better yet? They drown it with distractions. They escape into comfort. They talk, but never act. But you're different. You've chosen to remain in the dark long enough to become dangerous. And that's rare. Because in the dark, there are no illusions. There are no shortcuts. Just you, your demons, your dreams, and your decisions. That's where kings are made, not on stages, not in reels, not in noise, not in stillness, in consistency, in rejection, in discipline when no one is watching, in becoming so focused that the world forgets you exist until it's too late. The mindset of the ice, shadow-built man is this: I don't need to be seen now because I'm building something they can't ignore later. He delays gratification like a surgeon. He ignores applause like a monk. He moves with the patience of a predator. While others want overnight success, he's laying bricks, one silent day at a time, one disciplined morning after another, until the foundation is so strong, no failure can shake him. This man doesn't ask for support. He builds self-respect. He doesn't beg for approval. He embodies mastery. He doesn't chase competition. He becomes the standard. And when he walks into a room, people feel it, not because he announced it, but because power radiates from men who suffered in silence to become great. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to transform into a man no one saw coming. And when that day arrives, they'll wonder how you did it. But they won't understand, because they never stayed in the shadows long enough to become legends. Asterisk, there's a code. It's not written in books. It's not taught in schools. But every powerful man lives by it, even if he never speaks it out loud. It's called the code of silent discipline. This code is what separates men who dream from men who dominate. You don't post your goals. You don't explain your absence. You don't announce your moves. You vanish. You do the work. You return transformed. Silence is not weakness. It's armor. You don't owe the world your process. You don't need to justify your grind. Every rep, every book, every early morning, every cold shower, every no to temptation is a sacred part of the transformation they'll never understand. Because this code is not about hype. It's about honor. There's honor in keeping your promises to yourself. There's strength in waking up with no one to impress and still giving your maximum. There's glory in silence when everyone else is screaming for attention. The average man posts progress. The elite man builds in private. He doesn't need to be seen. He needs to become. While others measure themselves by followers, likes, and views, he measures himself by how often he says no to distraction, how often he trains when it's raining, how often he stays calm under pressure, how often he keeps his word in silence. He tracks himself not by visibility, but by integrity. You want to know how to become unstoppable? You obey the code. You show up when no one tells you to. You sharpen your mind like it's a weapon. You do what's hard when no one's watching. You protect your vision from the pollution of outside voices. Because, here's the hard truth, the more you talk, the less you do. The more you show, the more you leak power. That's why the strongest men are often the quietest. Not because they're timid, but because they've tasted the power of restraint. They don't explain what they're doing. They don't defend. They're disciplined. They just live the code, day after day, month after month, until what was invisible becomes undeniable. And when the world finally notices, it's too late. Because now, you're not just a man, you're a force. A legend born from shadows, built brick by brick in silence, by a code they'll never understand. And this is the truth. You don't need motivation. You don't need noise. You need rituals. You need brutal consistency. You need to disappear long enough to rebuild your identity from the inside out. When that happens, when your inner world becomes stronger than anything outside of you, there's nothing that can stop you. Not failure, not betrayal, not fatigue, not rejection. You've already conquered the hardest enemy of all, yourself. It always ends the same way. The room goes silent. The crowd leans in, and someone whispers, "Where did he come from?" They don't remember you. They didn't notice the nights you stayed in. They didn't see the mornings you woke up in pain and still moved forward. They weren't there when you broke, bent, and bled alone. They didn't hear the conversations you had with God at 3 a.m. They didn't witness the battles you fought inside your own mind. So when they see you rise, when they finally realize who you've become, they'll be shocked. But you won't be, because you built this. You bled for this. You buried the weak parts of yourself in silence, and you rose from the grave stronger than ever. They won't see you coming, because you were never chasing the spotlight. You were chasing the version of you that no longer makes excuses. The version of you who doesn't explain. The version of you who doesn't wait for motivation. The version of you who walks like he's already won, because he did the work in the dark. You see, there's a secret the world doesn't want you to know. You don't need to be loud to be legendary. Real kings don't need crowns. Real warriors don't brag about war. They just win. And you are becoming that man. You're no longer driven by applause. You're driven by the mission. You're no longer seeking permission. You've given yourself authority. You've stopped explaining. You've stopped complaining. You've stopped trying to be understood because you finally understand yourself. You've chosen silence over validation, discipline over distraction, vision over vanity. And now you walk with weight. People will feel your presence before you say a word. Because power, real power, is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives. Let others talk. Let others post. Let others dance for attention. You're building something that cannot be faked, cannot be bought, cannot be rushed. Identity, legacy, command. You've killed the weakness inside you. You've buried the gout. You've silenced the noise. Now you walk like a man who's already buried his excuses. Like a man who has nothing left to prove, only something left to become. So here's your final truth. Move in silence. Train like no one's watching. Build like the world depends on it. And when the time is right, strike so hard they never recover. This is how legends are made. This is how men become storms. Not by screaming, but by becoming. Let them underestimate you. Let them sleep on your name. Let them laugh. Because when they finally look again, it'll be too late. They won't see you coming, but they will never forget you again. Asterisk if you felt this message in. your soul. It's because the man you're becoming is already waking up. Now it's time to commit. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications. Share this video with a man who needs to hear it. And remember, the man who walks in silence is the man who conquers in power.